Good morning life often throws challenges at us when we least expect them. Some people crumble under the weight of pressure, while others seem to rise above it with grace, calmness, and unshakable positivity. The difference is not in the problems they face, but in how they choose to respond. Calmness is not weakness, it is inner strength. Positivity is not blind optimism, it is the ability to see opportunities in the midst of difficulties. The quality of your life is shaped not by the storms you face, but by the conversations you have with yourself in the midst of those storms. Every human being speaks to themselves silently all day long. This inner voice either becomes your greatest ally or your most relentless enemy. When you learn to control that inner dialogue, you gain mastery over your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Most people underestimate this simple truth. They believe their moods are dictated by external events, yet the real power lies in the interpretations and words they silently repeat in their minds. You may not be able to stop a harsh comment from someone or prevent unexpected challenges from arising, but you can decide what you tell yourself about it. That private story you tell yourself is what either ignites fear or builds courage, what either breeds despair or fuels hope. When a challenge strikes, the untrained mind often starts a destructive conversation. This is too hard, I can't handle it. Things never go my way. Such thoughts, repeated often, sink into the subconscious, which accepts them as instructions. The mind then acts as if these words are reality. Emotions spiral downward, decisions become clouded, and the ability to think clearly weakens. That is why controlling your inner dialogue is not merely a motivational idea, it is a practical tool for survival and progress. Consider two people facing the same setback, a business failure, a rejection, or a personal loss. One tells himself, I am finished, this proves I'm not good enough. The other says, this is painful, but it's temporary. I will learn, adjust, and come back stronger. The same event, but entirely different outcomes, all because of the words spoken in the privacy of their own mind. Words are not harmless. They carry emotional weight and have the power to shape beliefs. The moment you repeat a thought, you give it permission to influence your mood and behavior. To control your inner dialogue, you must become aware of what you say to yourself every day. This is not easy because self-talk often happens automatically, like background noise. Yet, with conscious attention, you can catch negative patterns and replace them with empowering messages. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, deliberately replace it with, I can find a way. When your mind whispers, everything is falling apart, respond with, I am in control of how I respond, and I will take the next right step. This shift may seem small, but repeated often, it reshapes your entire mental landscape. One of the greatest secrets of staying calm is recognizing that emotions follow thoughts. It is not the situation itself that makes you anxious or angry, but the meaning you assign to it. If you think the world is against you, you feel defeated. If you think every obstacle is a chance to grow, you feel determined. The inner voice is the bridge between events and emotions. Change that voice and you change the feelings that arise. This is why so many great thinkers and leaders place emphasis on mastering the mind. They knew that controlling inner dialogue was the foundation of self-mastery. A person who governs his thoughts can remain calm under pressure because his emotional state is not hostage to external circumstances. Training your inner voice requires patience and deliberate practice. It begins with listening, pausing several times a day to notice the tone of your self-talk. Are your words full of worry, anger, and doubt, or are they encouraging and solution-oriented? If you find them harsh, do not scold yourself further. Instead, gently interrupt the pattern. Speak to yourself as you would to a trusted friend who is going through a difficult time with encouragement, patience, and belief in their potential. This simple mental habit begins to create an inner climate of calmness and confidence. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes to respond constructively to challenges instead of reacting impulsively. Another powerful practice is to use intentional affirmations, not as empty slogans, but as genuine reminders of your capabilities. When you wake up, tell yourself, I choose to remain calm no matter what the day brings. I trust myself to find solutions. When facing adversity, say, I have overcome challenges before, and I can do it again. These statements direct your attention away from fear and toward your personal agency. Over time, they become ingrained responses that automatically steer your mind toward calmness and positivity. Controlling your inner dialogue also involves filtering the influences you allow into your mind. The words you hear from others, friends, colleagues, the media often echo inside you as part of your self-talk. If you surround yourself with constant negativity, your inner voice will mimic that negativity. Therefore, choose carefully what you listen to and who you spend time with. Seek conversations, books, and environments that nurture hope and wisdom. By doing so, you equip your inner voice with uplifting language, making it easier to sustain calm and optimism. There will always be moments when stress surges and your thoughts start to race. This is when the discipline you've cultivated becomes most valuable. Instead of letting your mind spin out of control, pause, take a slow breath, and silently repeat a stabilizing phrase like, "I am centered. I will think clearly." Such simple inner commands can interrupt spiraling thoughts and give you the space to choose a deliberate response. This is not denial of difficulties, but leadership of the self. You are taking charge of the most powerful instrument you have, your mind. Controlling your inner dialogue is ultimately an act of self-respect. It is deciding that you will no longer allow every external circumstance or fleeting emotion to dictate your mood. It is a declaration that you and not random events hold the authority over your mental state. As you cultivate this skill, you begin to notice a remarkable shift. Situations that once provoked panic or anger now meet with steadiness. Problems that once seemed overwhelming appear manageable. Opportunities that were previously hidden come into view because your mind is no longer clouded by negativity. Calmness stops being a rare state and becomes your default mode, not because the world changed, but because you changed the way you speak to yourself about the world. In learning to control your inner dialogue, you discover one of the greatest truths about human potential, that peace of mind and strength of spirit are not given by others or taken away by events. They arise from within. Every thought you nurture is a seed, and every word you repeat to yourself is water for that seed. If you wish for a mind that is steady, hopeful, and courageous, you must choose thoughts and words that feed such qualities. This practice will not only help you stay calm and positive in life, but will also set the foundation for every other form of success and well-being you desire. One of the greatest sources of human frustration is the constant attempt to control what cannot be controlled. People waste their strength trying to shape the opinions of others, to bend the weather to their will, to force life's timing, or to rewrite the past. In doing so, they surrender their energy to battles that cannot be won. The mind becomes restless, the heart becomes heavy, and the spirit grows weary. Yet the truth is simple and liberating. While you cannot control every event, you have absolute authority over your responses. The moment you recognize this distinction and focus your energy on what lies within your reach, calmness begins to replace anxiety and steady progress takes the place of helpless struggle. This principle is as old as human wisdom and as relevant as today's challenges. The storms of life will always come, but the choice to steer your own ship belongs to you. When a person focuses on what is outside their control, they live as a victim of circumstance. Every unfavorable comment from others can ruin their day. Every shift in the economy can drain their hope. Every unexpected change becomes a crisis because they believe their well-being depends on things they cannot command. Such a mindset creates a cycle of reaction. The world acts, and they merely respond, often in anger, fear, or despair. But when a person decides to direct their attention inward, to govern their own thoughts, attitudes, and actions, they reclaim the power that was always theirs. The world still brings surprises, but the individual no longer lives at the mercy of those surprises. They develop the inner steadiness that distinguishes leaders from followers, builders from complainers. Consider two sailors at sea facing the same turbulent winds. One curses the storm and waits for it to end, drifting aimlessly. The other studies the wind's direction, adjusts the sails, and uses the very force of the storm to move forward. The difference lies not in the wind, but in the choice of focus. Life's circumstances are like the wind. You cannot stop them, but you can decide how to set your sails. Many people waste precious time complaining about the wind, but the wise spend their time learning to navigate it. This is the essence of focusing on what you can control. Often, what lies within your control is not as limited as it first appears. You can control your attitude, the lens through which you view the world. You can control your effort, the energy you bring to each task. You can control your choices, what you say, what you do, what you pursue, and what you ignore. You can control the daily habits that shape your character and prepare you for greater opportunities. These are not small matters. They are the true levers of progress. When you concentrate on these areas, you discover that even when external conditions are far from perfect, you still possess the power to create meaningful change in your life. The temptation to fight the uncontrollable often springs from fear and pride. We wish that other people would think and behave as we do. We wish the world would cooperate with our plans. When it does not, we feel threatened and attempt to force it into compliance. Yet the harder we push against what cannot be changed, the more resistance we encounter. Wisdom begins with humility, the recognition that we are part of a vast and unpredictable world. Humility frees us to invest our efforts where they will have real impact. It does not mean surrendering to fate, but rather channeling our willpower toward fruitful action. This focus also brings a profound sense of relief. Imagine carrying a heavy burden of worries about tomorrow's weather, the economy, other people's approval, and the countless unknowns that crowd the future. Such worry exhausts the mind without solving a single problem. Now imagine setting that burden down and turning your full attention to what can be done today, to showing up with courage, to improving your skills, to treating others with respect, to keeping your own commitments. This shift lightens the spirit and strengthens resolve. Calmness is not born of having everything under control, but of knowing where your control begins and ends. In practical terms, focusing on what you can control means establishing boundaries for your thoughts. It means refusing to allow your mind to be consumed by headlines that you cannot change, gossip that serves no purpose, or regrets about yesterday that cannot be undone. It means directing your mental energy toward purposeful questions. What is the next step I can take? How can I make the best use of this situation? Which actions today will lead me closer to my long-term vision? By asking such questions, you train your mind to be proactive rather than reactive. This principle is not about passive acceptance, but about intelligent action. Many confuse calmness with indifference, as if to stay composed means doing nothing. The opposite is true. Focusing on what you can control unleashes your capacity for meaningful effort. It keeps you anchored while others are tossed about by every change in circumstances. It enables you to act with clarity even under pressure, because your attention is not scattered by futile struggles. The person who masters this focus becomes a steady influence in their family, their workplace, and their community. Others look to them for guidance not because they can predict the future, but because they do not crumble when the unexpected arrives. Even in the most difficult moments, there is always something within your sphere of influence. If you cannot change the event, you can change your perspective. If you cannot change another person's behavior, you can decide how you respond to it. If you cannot avoid a setback, you can choose to extract a lesson from it. This approach transforms obstacles into opportunities for growth. It does not make life easy, but it makes life purposeful. Each day becomes a practice in disciplined focus, a commitment to use your limited energy where it counts the most. The discipline of focusing on what you can control also nurtures patience. It teaches you that some results require time and that no amount of force can accelerate certain processes. Seeds need seasons to grow. Relationships need trust to deepen. Skills need practice to mature. When you accept these truths, you stop wasting energy on impatience and begin to work steadily, step by step. Paradoxically, this calm persistence often brings results faster than frantic effort ever could. In the end, the power to remain calm and positive lies not in controlling the winds of circumstance, but in mastering the sails of your own mind and will. The storms of life are inevitable, but your focus determines whether you are driven off course or guided to a new and better destination. Each moment you spend fretting over the uncontrollable is a moment stolen from the progress you could make. Each moment you dedicate to what lies within your influence is an investment in resilience and peace of mind. As this focus becomes your habit, you begin to experience a quiet strength, the kind that does not depend on perfect conditions, but on a disciplined heart and a clear, determined mind. The way you see the world shapes the way you respond to it, and the way you respond shapes the life you ultimately create. Perspective is the lens through which you interpret every event, every challenge, and every triumph. Two people can face the same situation yet experience completely different realities because one sees only the obstacle while the other sees the opportunity within it. The power of perspective lies in its ability to transform fear into courage, confusion into clarity, and despair into determination. It is not the size of the problem that determines the outcome, but the size of your perception of it. If you believe a challenge is insurmountable, it will be. If you see it as a temporary test designed to sharpen your character, you will endure it and grow stronger. Perspective is the silent guide that either holds you back or propels you forward. When life feels overwhelming, it is often because you are standing too close to the problem. Like a person who presses their face against a painting, you can only see the dark strokes and jagged lines, not the larger image they form. Stepping back allows you to see the whole picture, the colors, the design, the purpose behind the details. Similarly, stepping back in life helps you see that most troubles are not permanent roadblocks, but temporary curves in the path. They are not the end of the story, but a single chapter in a longer journey. This shift in perspective does not change the facts of the situation, but it changes the way you feel about them, and that change in feeling alters the way you respond. A calm and hopeful response always leads to better results than a frantic or hopeless one. Perspective also teaches you that time is an ally, not an enemy. Many people react to hardships as if they will last forever, forgetting that most storms eventually pass. When you remember that the current difficulty is not eternal, you find the strength to keep going. You learn to tell yourself, this is painful now, but it is not the end. A year from now, I will be in a different place, and this moment will be a memory from which I learned. Such thinking allows you to endure what might otherwise crush your spirit. It gives you patience when the process seems slow and hope when the results are not immediate. With the right perspective, you realize that life's delays often hide unseen blessings, and what seems like a detour may be leading you to a better destination. A powerful perspective sees challenges as teachers rather than enemies. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what is this teaching me? Every setback contains a lesson about your own strengths, about the nature of the world, about the skills you need to develop. By searching for that lesson, you shift your focus away from feeling like a victim and move toward becoming a student of life. This change alone brings a sense of calm because you are no longer fighting the experience but learning from it. A learning mind cannot be easily discouraged because it knows that even pain has a purpose. Perspective also frees you from the weight of comparison. Many people feel unhappy not because their life is unbearable, but because they measure it against someone else's highlight reel. They see others' successes and assume their own journey is failing. A wise perspective reminds you that every person is on a unique path, with their own timing, their own struggles, and their own victories. What matters is not how fast you move compared to someone else, but that you continue moving forward on your own path. This shift allows you to celebrate the progress you have made, instead of resenting the progress of others. It replaces envy with gratitude and restlessness with peace. Another profound aspect of perspective is the ability to separate events from your identity. People often say, I failed, as if a single setback defines their entire being. But a better perspective recognizes that failure is an event, not a permanent label. It is something that happened, not something you are. When you see it this way, failure loses its power to humiliate or paralyze you. It becomes feedback, a message that something needs to change, and that message can guide you to better strategies and stronger character. Viewing setbacks as part of a larger learning process rather than as personal defects allows you to maintain your confidence and composure even in tough times. Perspective is also about recognizing the influence of your focus. Whatever you give your attention to grows larger in your mind. If you dwell constantly on what is wrong, what you lack, or what you fear, those things will seem bigger and more threatening than they truly are. But if you choose to focus on your strengths, on your opportunities, and on the small steps you can take today, hope and confidence grow instead. This is not ignoring reality, it is choosing which part of reality to emphasize. The mind is like a camera. It cannot capture the entire scene at once, so you must decide what to frame. Focusing on constructive aspects gives you the energy to address challenges rather than being drained by them. Gaining perspective often requires distance, sometimes physical, sometimes emotional. When a situation feels too intense, it can be helpful to step away, take a walk, breathe deeply, or talk to someone you trust. Distance cools the emotions and allows the rational mind to see things more clearly. From that calmer state, solutions often become visible, that were hidden in the fog of stress. This is why wise people often advise pausing before reacting, giving yourself the space to think, and letting time bring clarity. Perspective cannot be forced in moments of panic. It grows in moments of reflection. As you practice cultivating perspective, you begin to see that life is not a series of random events, but a journey designed to develop your character. The very challenges you once resented often turn out to be the experiences that taught you resilience, compassion, and wisdom. This realization fills you with a sense of purpose, even in hardship. You begin to trust that there is meaning in the struggles and that your current challenges are shaping you for something greater ahead. Trusting in that larger process calms the mind because it hits the feeling of chaos with the belief in a guiding order. Ultimately, perspective is a discipline, a choice you make each day about how you will interpret what happens to you. It is choosing to see beyond the immediate discomfort and to focus on the long-term lesson. It is refusing to let temporary setbacks convince you of permanent defeat. It is remembering that storms do not last forever, that failure is not final, and that pain often precedes growth. The more you practice this discipline, the more it becomes your natural way of thinking. You find yourself less easily shaken by difficulties and more consistently anchored in hope. You discover a calmness that does not come from the absence of problems, but from the presence of wisdom. And with that wisdom, you remain positive even in moments when others around you are losing heart, for you have learned the secret that life is often kinder than it first appears to those who have the courage to look at it from the right angle. The state of calmness and positivity that so many people desire is not a gift that arrives by chance. It is the natural outcome of the habits you choose to practice every single day. Life is shaped far more by consistent small actions than by rare bursts of effort. The human mind, like a garden, grows whatever you plant in it and water daily. If you sow seeds of gratitude, discipline, and reflection, you will harvest peace and resilience. If you neglect the garden or fill it with weeds of worry, resentment, and unhealthy routines, the mind will grow restless and the heart unsettled. Many people want inner peace in times of crisis, but they ignore the daily practices that prepare them to meet life's storms with calm strength. The truth is that serenity is not found in special techniques or distant retreats, but in the ordinary, consistent choices that shape your mental and emotional landscape. One of the most powerful habits for nurturing inner peace is beginning the day with intention rather than reactivity. Too often, people wake up and immediately immerse themselves in external noise, the news, social media, messages, or worries about the day ahead. Their minds become agitated before they even take their first breath of morning air. A wiser approach is to start the day by centering yourself, even if only for a few minutes. It may be as simple as sitting quietly and breathing deeply, reminding yourself of what truly matters, or speaking a few words of gratitude for another day of life and opportunity. These early moments set the tone for everything that follows. A calm beginning strengthens the mind against the day's inevitable pressures, and gratitude in the morning often transforms how you interpret challenges later in the day. Equally important is the practice of tending to your thoughts throughout the day. Inner peace cannot coexist with unchecked negativity. Thoughts, like visitors, will enter your mind uninvited, some bringing encouragement and others carrying fear or anger. You cannot always prevent their arrival, but you can choose which ones you allow to stay. By cultivating the habit of observing your thoughts without immediately reacting to them, you create space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom to decide which thoughts deserve your attention and which should be gently dismissed. This ongoing awareness prevents small irritations from snowballing into larger stress and keeps your mental environment clear and steady. Another daily habit that strengthens inner peace is the practice of mindful pauses. The modern world pushes people into constant motion, filling their days with tasks, notifications, and expectations. This relentless pace leaves little room for reflection, and a mind without reflection becomes easily agitated. By deliberately pausing, even for a minute, to breathe deeply, stretch, or simply notice the present moment, you allow your body and mind to reset. Such pauses are not wasted time. They are moments of renewal. Like a bow that cannot remain constantly drawn without losing its strength. The mind needs intervals of release to stay focused and calm. People who incorporate these mindful breaks find themselves responding to challenges with more composure because they are not operating from a state of continuous strain. The people you surround yourself with also play a decisive role in maintaining your inner peace. Human beings are influenced not only by their own thoughts, but also by the energy, attitudes, and words of those around them. Negative company drains the spirit and keeps the mind agitated, while supportive and hopeful companions reinforce a positive outlook. Building the habit of seeking out uplifting influences and minimizing exposure to constant complainers or critics is not selfish, it is self-preservation. Just as you would avoid polluting your physical environment, you must also be mindful of the emotional environments you choose. This principle applies not only to personal relationships, but also to the books you read, the conversations you engage in, and the content you consume each day. By feeding your mind with wisdom and inspiration instead of fear and anger, you create fertile soil for peace to grow. Nurturing inner peace also requires caring for the physical vessel that houses your mind, your body. While many focus solely on mental techniques for calmness, neglecting the body can sabotage the mind's stability. Fatigue, poor diet, and lack of movement often fuel irritability and anxiety. Building habits of adequate rest, balanced nutrition, and regular physical activity strengthens the foundation upon which mental resilience is built. Even small acts, like a daily walk in nature or a moment to breathe fresh air, can refresh the mind and bring a sense of tranquility that cannot be achieved by thought alone. Caring for the body is not a separate task from cultivating peace. It is an integral part of it. A less obvious but equally vital habit is the daily practice of letting go. Throughout each day, small frustrations and disappointments can accumulate like stones in a backpack. If you do not regularly release them, their weight slowly drags down your spirit. This is why it is essential to end the day with a mental clearing, reflecting on what went wrong without clinging to it, and forgiving both yourself and others for inevitable imperfections. This ritual of release allows you to close each day with a lighter heart and approach the next morning unburdened. Those who cannot let go of yesterday's troubles carry them into today, perpetuating a cycle of stress. But those who learn to release what they cannot change build a mental space in which calmness can flourish. Another deeply enriching daily habit is the cultivation of gratitude. Gratitude is not merely an emotion that appears in moments of blessing. It is a deliberate perspective that can be nurtured even in ordinary or difficult times. By taking time each day to notice what is good, a kind word, a lesson learned, a small victory, or simply the breath in your lungs, you train your mind to focus on abundance rather than lack. Gratitude transforms ordinary days into sources of quiet joy and reframes struggles as opportunities to discover hidden strengths. A grateful heart is naturally more peaceful because it sees not just what is missing, but also what is present and valuable. In addition to gratitude, the habit of service, doing something for others, brings an unexpected depth of inner peace. When life feels overwhelming, turning your attention to helping someone else can dissolve the walls of self-centered worry. A simple act of kindness can shift your focus outward, reminding you of your connection to others and your ability to make a difference. This sense of connection reduces feelings of isolation and strengthens your inner resilience. People who consistently find ways to serve often discover that their own challenges feel lighter and their hearts grow calmer because they are anchored in a purpose greater than themselves. Consistency is the key to all these habits. One act of gratitude will not transform a restless mind, just as one day of good nutrition will not transform a frail body. But when such practices are woven into the fabric of daily life, they accumulate a quiet but unstoppable power. Over time, these small choices shape not only your moods, but also your character, giving you a steady center that remains unmoved by the passing storms of circumstance. This is why building daily habits for inner peace is less about dramatic gestures and more about faithful persistence. Every day presents countless opportunities to choose the calm path over the agitated one, the constructive thought over the destructive, the patient response over the impulsive reaction. These choices, repeated consistently, become habits, and habits become the character that carries you through life's trials. The pursuit of inner peace is not a destination to be reached one day in the future, but a way of living today. It is the daily decision to care for your mind, your body, and your spirit as the most valuable assets you possess. Those who make this decision not once but every morning and every evening soon discover that peace is not something to be sought from the outside world, but something that grows quietly and steadily from within. In the end, staying calm and positive is not about escaping life's challenges or pretending that pain does not exist. It is about building an inner foundation so strong that no storm can shake it. When you learn to guide your thoughts instead of being led by them, to focus on what you can control instead of fighting what you cannot, to see life through a wider, wiser perspective, and to nurture your peace with daily habits, you unlock a strength that few ever discover. Challenges will still come, but they will no longer dictate your mood or your future. You will walk through difficulties with steadiness, rise after setbacks with hope, and inspire others with the calm confidence you carry. Remember, peace is not found in the absence of problems. It grows in the presence of purpose and wisdom. Each day, you hold the choice to be tossed by the winds of circumstance or to steer your mind toward calmness and positivity. Choose wisely because the quality of your life depends on it.